to Nerdindex. Today we're reviewing Ameku M.D. Dr. Detective. If medical distress, vomit, and death make you uncomfortable, then definitely don't watch this show. And some of the actions of the villains in each case will make you want to punch somebody. Looking at you, Miss Suzuhara. Ameku is an arrogant genius, but not in an unlikable way.
Feels very Sherlock to me.
This was helped in part by the good chemistry that the side characters had with her.
More Sherlock vibes to me. Her assistant Kotori, very fun.
She also opened up a lot more to show her humanity during the pediatric case in the second half of the show in particular.
That was a very impactful case, especially with the other kids actually being rather wholesome in their motivations in the end.
The show presented well laid out mysteries so that you as the viewer are being fed enough information to draw your own conclusions, but that it's still satisfying when Ameku reveals exactly how all the pieces fit together.
I could usually get most of the pieces, but there was the final medical diagnosis that I wouldn't know the correct term for most of the time. They usually had one revelation that was really obvious with the camera work / dialogue, and a few more that if you were paying attention, you'd get them, and then one thing that if you really knew, you'd figure it out, but medical knowledge is not my strong suit.
Yeah, this was definitely not a second monitor type show. Like, you should be paying attention. It's fun when you're formulating your own theories about the case as they unravel, and it wasn't just purely medical situations, as they would also get involved with some of the detectives' casework. Just don't take everything too seriously, because some liberties were made in the sake of storytelling.
Blue paint bud.
That was the one that everybody was complaining about. But I was constantly wondering how they had all this time off to go investigate cases outside the hospital instead of having to work.
Their department seemed like a support department that didn't have patients of its own, so they had a lot of freedom, and it seemed like she was usually found in her house / office on the roof of the hospital.
Yeah, but then there'd also be times where she's like, oh, we have to go make rounds and stuff, so they still had responsibilities. It was just a little silly. And I've seen a decent amount of people saying that some of the medical information given to the audience is inaccurate, but this is a work of fiction, and so it should just be enjoyed as such and not taken as a serious statement. It doesn't have massive twists that you wouldn't see coming, but it does have some things involved that you would have to have prior medical knowledge to reach that conclusion for yourself. But I think that's okay, because not every mystery show has to have a gigantic impact. The show was still fun and binge-worthy because I wanted to know if my theory was correct or not with each case. The one that I was most right on was the last one, and it was the human elements, not the actual medical diagnosis of how it happened.
That one was the more surprising medical one, because I didn't know that was possible.
Well, now that we've seen the brain scan, I'm like, okay, I'm sure someone would have been like, what's that highlight there? But like, again, you have to have the medical knowledge, and we've never looked at brain scans, so... The second half also saw a slight dip in the animation quality and a significant increase in continuity errors, but it's nothing significant enough to ruin the show. And someone lovingly modeled the cars that we saw, especially Kotori's Mazdas, which seemed kind of unnecessary for this type of show, but I thought it was cool nonetheless.
Rest in peace, First Mazda.
Overall, this anime never left me feeling bored, and the final episode felt like a good conclusion to consider this a full story in just 12 episodes, which I really appreciate. This was an 8 out of 10.